Politically, after World War II, Germany was divided into 4 zones of occupation, which were each individually administered by the 4 powers. In each of the zones, denazification was carried out separately. Eventually, the eastern part of Germany was named the German Democratic Republic, while the western part became the Federal Republic of Germany. This happened after the Berlin blockade in 1949. The war caused 20% of all housing to be severely destroyed. Food production had become 51% of the produce in 1947 compared to 1938. The picture shows the destroyed city of Dresden in Saxony. This picture represents the political platform across the GDR in achieving a communist state. Communism was implemented all over and integrated socially through numerous welfare programs. These programs consisted of institutions, many of which were relevant to church, that was subsidized to the people, where the Soviets gave health care, housing, child care, and even directed jobs to the people. Economically, they used their abundant raw materials and coal resources to help serve as reparations, in which they created a massive program incorporating the factories and other industrial entities. Politically, the Socialist Unity Party, or SED, controlled all political and social aspects of East Germany through the social welfare policy and communist economy. From 1949 to 1955, East Germany was politically consolidated as an authoritarian-style state under SED leadership. The National Front Coalition, which was a federation of all political parties and mass organizations, was controlled by Ulbricht and the SED. Stalin was the leader of the USSR when German occupation forces swept into eastern Germany towards the end of the Second World War. He, with Britain and the US, decided the fate of Germany and Berlin at the 2 wartime conferences, Yalta and Potsdam. At the Yalta Conference in February 1945, the Allies decided that Germany would be disarmed, demilitarized, denazified, and divided. At Potsdam, there were more disagreements between the powers, but the USSR's region became East Germany and East Berlin, and they also got a significant amount of the reparations from Germany. The East German uprising took place a couple of months after Stalin's death. It was an uprising of workers in East Germany against the government's demands to increase productivity. This uprising came in the form of Khrushchev's secret speech and resulted in the de-Stalinization of the USSR and Eastern Europe. The Berlin blockade also took place under Khrushchev's rule. The blockade was when the USSR blocked all the land passages for supplies to get into West Berlin that was deep in the heart of East Germany. This resulted in the Berlin airlift that was carried out by the USA, and it only furthered the separation between East and West Germany. In order to lessen the conflict with the US and continue with de-Stalinization, Khrushchev tried to impose less communist plans that were not very popular with East Germans. Under Brezhnev, there was a lot more cooperation than in previous years, and an agreement of mutual support was signed between the GDR and the USSR. This painting is one of the most famous graffiti works on the Berlin Wall, and it shows Brezhnev and the Eastern German head of state, Honecker, in a fraternal embrace, which represents the 2 countries' better relations. The Berlin Wall, as well as the Soviet East European Empire, started to fall under Gorbachev, and Gorbachev's policies and thinking that served to heighten political experimentation in East Germany and beyond may have contributed to these events. The USA had a lesser influence on the GDR as compared to the USSR. Truman was the first U.S. president to have an influence on East Germany. Under his presidency, the USSR, and by extension East Germany, refused the aid of the Marshall Plan, which further escalated Cold War tensions and further lessened the extent of East Germany's possible recovery. Under Eisenhower, however, the U.S. wanted to keep Germany demilitarized with a weak government because that would lessen the threat that it had on West Germany and the rest of Eastern Europe. Kennedy had looked weak at the start of the presidency with the Bay of Pigs invasion that failed terribly. So at the Vienna summit in June 1961, Khrushchev said that he would build a wall separating East and West Berlin. Kennedy gave no response against Khrushchev's declaration, and so the building of the wall started. At this point, Kennedy didn't really have a choice but to accept that the wall was being built, because active opposition could have led to war. Reagan gave his famous speech in which he called for Gorbachev to tear down this wall. Many credit him for the fall of the Berlin Wall, even though there's a debate surrounding how important he really was to it. This led to bringing both East Berlin and East Germany out of the isolation that they had been in during the years of the Cold War. As mentioned before, the GDR was isolated during the Cold War years. However, a significant piece of East Germany's foreign policy was the Ulbricht Doctrine that caused East Germany to gain acceptance from Bulgaria, Hungary, Poland, and Czechoslovakia, who agreed to not have good relations with West Germany until the GDR's sovereignty was recognized. Although it seemed like there was not a lot of opposition in East Germany, there were some protests and strikes. The first big uprising in the GDR happened in June 1953 in East Berlin. Workers went on strike following a party conference in which it was decided that taxes and worker quotas would be raised. It spread to other parts of East Germany, but the uprising was violently suppressed. The church also played a large part in the opposition. Lutheran church leaders supported nonviolence and disarmament. The Initiative for Peace and Human Rights, which was established in 1985, became the main opposition force. The fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989, represented the fall of communism in East Germany. On November 9th, the East German government announced the opening of all East German borders. Reunification followed on October 30, 1990, under the West German Constitution, as conservative parties supporting reunification won the election. This sign in Germany marks the spot at which both Germany and Europe were divided until December 10, 1989, at 10:15 a.m.